Welcome to the North Texas Council vetting session for Texas Railroad Commissioner. I am here today with Gregory Parker. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I am Liz Moser from Garland, Texas.
I'm Gordon Edwards, and I'm from Ovilla, Texas.
Okay.
Bob Morrison from Arlington, Texas.
And Brad Voigt from Midlothian, Texas.
And now I'm going to go over the simple rules for the vetting process. No one is allowed to be in the room except the vetting panel and candidate. All electronics allowed in the room shall be turned off except laptops used by the vetting committee and the video recorders provided by the vetting committee. Cell phones or voice recorders shall be turned off in the room. No written materials or notes will be taken by the candidate. North Texas Council vetting panel members and candidate agree that all questions and responses at this vetting session are to remain confidential property until videos are uploaded and considered public information on the North Texas Council website and or alternative websites. Verbal questions will be asked and verbal responses to those questions will be given with 2-minute responses for each question. There will not be any follow-up questions or explanations of questions given during this video session. You may, however, request a repeat of a question at the time the question was first asked during this video session. Okay. And at this time, I'm going to introduce again Gregory Parker. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Greg Parker. I'm County Commissioner in Comal County. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm completing my PhD in Public Policy and Administration. Dissertation research is actually on oil and gas exploration and correlation economic growth. I'm taking courses from MIT in energy economics, public economics, sustainable development. Kind of like to say I've been educated by liberals, but I'm still quite conservative. Let's see, a member of the International Association of Energy Economics, U.S. Association of Energy Economics, Texas Oil and Gas Association, Texas Alliance for Energy Producers, where I actually am the co-chair of starting the South Texas Wildcatters, which brings energy officials, local elected officials, and private sector together to solve some of the problems in the Eagle Ford Shale as it develops. I'm an author of the book of The Myth of Global Warming called Global Warming Really? Author of several energy articles, as well as articles on Agenda 21, or should I say the ills of Agenda 21, smart meters, a whole host of other things. As a county commissioner, I've kept our tax rate one of the lowest in the region, despite a 46% growth rate. I was appointed by Governor Perry to the 911 Commission, where I led the state's charge on 911, or should I say next generation 911 and technology. I'm a military veteran, served at Fort Hood, as well as, as well as a, technology professional from back in the day before I became an elected official. Okay, I kind of summed it up in 2 minutes. There we go. Oh, and I'm not Chris Rock. Gotcha.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go ahead and start. You will have 2 minutes to answer each of the following 10 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, please state your views on the role of government at local, state, or federal levels.
Okay. The role of government, really, in my mind, one is not following the Constitution, but the role of government that's closest to the people, which is local government, should be, in my mind, one of the premier portions of government that allow the citizen not only to interact with it, but local leaders to interact with their citizens. It is crucial. As a county commissioner, I know that all too well, how we cannot get our federal officials on the phone, but a local a citizen can call me on the phone anytime. They're closest to the citizen. States have the role of being, should I say, I like to call it the arbitrator of that which is the citizens have elected these state individuals to do. The federal government should be, in my mind, the smallest and the least intrusive of all the branches of government. Of course, you have what's commonly referred to as federalism now that is, in my mind, has run amok. And you see now we have mandation of health care, mandation of smart meters, and several other things that unelected bureaucrats have mandated on us from the federal government. Instead of being the smallest, it now is the biggest. And I don't think that's the way the Founding Fathers envisioned it, nor the Constitution says it should be. I had to get all that in 2 minutes, so I'm trying.
Question number 2, news media such as ABC News 8 and Oil and Gas Lawyer blog have reported the Texas Sunset Commission staff report that recommends the concept of replacing 3 elected members of the Texas Oil and Gas Commission with 5 non-elected members. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thought on that, and I'm familiar with that report, whether it be 1 appointed member or 5 appointed members, I think that is wrong. The Railroad Commission has 3 statewide elected officials, and I think it should remain so, because if they're elected, they're accountable to the people. If you get 1 or 5 appointed officials, you have nothing more than 1 or 5 appointed czars, and the state of Texas does not need czars. Sure, I'm being short and concise because of time.
That's fine. Number 3, what issue or issues are facing the Railroad Commission that the public needs to know about?
Well, I would say 1, of course, the Railroad Commission is facing significant issues from the standpoint of its image in terms of the citizens. A lot of citizens see it as a oil and gas puppet, and it is an accountability agency. And I think once we have elected officials that understand the oil and gas industry but not beholden to it, you'll see that kind of wane away. Also, issues in terms of the EPA and fighting the EPA. Also, issues in terms of oil and gas exploration. As it relates to not only the state of Texas, but actually federal intrusion into such, and the state of Texas also making sure that a lot of people like to go on about fracking concerns. There's no causal relationship between fracking and earthquakes, fracking and water contamination, several things like that. So I think really the Railroad Commission is facing an educating the citizens from that standpoint. So those are our 1 of 2. Or should I say 2, but there might be more. I might not have time for that, so I'll stop.
Question 4. What work experience and/or education do you have to apply to this position?
Okay. Well, in terms of education, as I mentioned and rattled off quite expediently in the beginning, most of my education and training is in energy economics and understanding that. Not only authoring the book, but also studying and authoring several energy articles, working in terms with federal officials, talking to them, as well as not only writing letters, but also testifying in front of the State Department in favor of the Keystone XL pipeline. Now, mind you, as a county commissioner, sitting on the Wildcatters and being co-chair there, and soon next year being chair, my work experience as well as my education lends itself to being what I call a qualified conservative. I believe that the individual who is incumbent, while qualified, is not a conservative, and the other 2 individuals, while conservative, are not qualified. So I believe that my education and experience gives me that innate ability to be not only conservative but qualified to do the job. Also sitting on the necessary boards to understand the issues that face not only Texas but the oil and gas industry. Okay.
Okay, question number 5. How does the Texas Constitution provide for the Railroad Commissioner, and how does that office benefit society?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay, the Constitution lays out the Railroad Commission and its its elective offices. You have several other Texas Water Code, Texas Environmental Health and Safety Code, as well as several others. That actually lay out its actual rulemaking ability. But how does it affect our citizens as a whole and things to that effect? It affects us mainly because it is the oil and gas regulatory agency for the state of Texas. So actually, and in that said, it is the largest oil and gas regulatory agency, second only to the Department of Energy. Of course, there's different theories as to why the Department of Energy even exists, but let's not get into that. It benefits society because not only does it take it protects the citizens in terms of making sure that the oil and gas industry is doing its part, but it also allows it allows for the oil and gas industry to put its product to market with relative ease, and which in turn could bring down oil and gas, could bring down gas prices. It could ease energy prices, things to that effect.
Okay.
Number 6, what previous public office have you held, and list some of your accomplishments?
Okay. I have, again, a two-term county commissioner, so I've been county commissioner before. Some of my accomplishments are, again, as I mentioned before, we kept the tax rate, along with my colleagues, we've kept that tax rate one of the lowest in the region. Some say it might be one of the lowest in the state, again, given that we've had a 46% growth rate. I've also got educational benefits for our employees, as well as promoted education throughout our community. Also a strong supporter of child abuse prevention, domestic violence prevention. I've been that way not only on Commissioner's Court, but given the fact that I saw some things in my childhood that were not pleasant, let's say that. And so that's been a passion of mine. I've also taken, there was an agency in Guadalupe County that on a board that I sat on, and actually they were, let's put it this way, the executive director wasn't always doing things the right way. And finding these things out, I decided that it's time to make a change, and I was fought the entire way. But I persevered and was in the newspaper and everything, but I persevered, and we actually took that agency, became chairman, took that agency over from a $300,000 loss to a $200,000 profit, new executive director, new debt management plan, better employee morale, all in the span of less than a year. So those are some of my proudest achievements. I've created the Guardian Angel Award in my community, like I mentioned, to help support those individuals who do help foster a stronger family and fight domestic violence, and actually promote child abuse prevention.
Okay. Question number 7. What is the basis for your public office decisions?
Oh, well, I believe the basis for my public office decisions are first and foremost God, and believing that He works through all of us to give us all and allows us all to make those correct decisions. Number 2, I believe, is based on data and facts. I don't necessarily like to speculate. And some of those facts actually have led me to actually vote against citizens who are in my community. And I'm going to tell you that because it's interesting. I have voted against some of those citizens, but some of those exact citizens have endorsed me. So it's interesting to see, as while I'm fair and use facts and figures to base my decisions on, it also lends itself so that people will know that I'm not playing favorites or anything. I'm consistent. And a consistent conservative is what we need. And those individuals see that, and they say, you know what, Greg, I can get behind you because you're consistent in what you do. And you make your decisions based on that data and those facts, as well as the belief in our Almighty.
Question number 8. What does the Railroad Commission do, and how will you communicate that to the public during the campaign and after being elected?
Okay. The Railroad Commission, again, as I mentioned, is the oil and gas regulatory agency for the state of Texas. They also handle gas distribution from the standpoint of gas utilities. They do pipeline safety, as well as uranium and surface mining, coal mining here in the state of Texas. There's some alternative fuels and things to that effect, research, as they call it, that they look at. That's a topic for another day as well. But how would I communicate that? I have been out there touting what the Railroad Commission does, not only in the campaign, but also for about a year now, because as I mentioned before, I authored a book on the myth of global warming. And going, as I've been out talking about that, you will see that people ask me about the Railroad Commission, and I was forced to explain that. After I'm in office, I do believe the Railroad Commission needs to get out of Austin. We need to have meetings around the state. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Austin. I think is crucial because individuals in the Barnett Shale, in the Haynesville Shale, Eagle Ford Shale, need to understand who the individuals on the Railroad Commission are and what it does. And so we can get out of Austin to tell folks that. Also, having town hall meetings with just myself, going out there talking to individuals. Also making the rounds of the Republican clubs. Michael Williams was successful in that, and I want to continue that by actually going around to the clubs and continuing that, not just in the campaign, but continuing it after the campaign, so that they can see, oh, that's Greg Parker. They know me. I want them to know my face. And so I think that's the things I would do, as well as continue to write. I do well at writing, and I like writing, so continue to write on energy issues, as well as continue to promote the Railroad Commission out there through that means.
Number 9, what is the scope of the Railroad Commission in maintaining status quo or opening the field to alternative energy resources to
Ooh, we get to
update
talk
power
about it.
generation?
Okay. The Railroad Commission's purview when it comes to alternative fuels, you'll see it's really more with alternative fossil fuels. When it gets in terms of alternative fuels such as wind and solar, which one of my opponents has vigorously defended his role in the wind boondoggle and things to that effect, it's we more along the line of fossil fuels. I personally do not believe the Railroad Commission should be in the business of promoting any fuels whatsoever. It is an accountability agency, a regulatory agency. It needs to stick with that. Railroad commissioners or the agency itself, in my mind, does not need to be in the business of promoting one fuel source over the other. That's not what I believe is the job. If we get back to what we're tasked to do, you will probably find out that it is, we can not only save the state money once we get back to what we are truly tasked to do, which is actually the accountability. Now, that doesn't mean I'm against wind or solar. I'm not. I am in favor of wind, solar, whatever the private sector can come up with. I'm against government subsidization of wind and solar and all these other alternative energy forms.
This is question number 10 and your last question.
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts for a higher office at any time?
You know, I have actually been asked that on quite a few occasions, and I will tell you this. I personally just want to be the best railroad commissioner I can be. I believe I am qualified to do so and conservative, and that's what I want to do.